Okay, so, um, I kind of just thought I would make this video because I've seen so many people be like, "Oh, this person's not trans," even though said person is non-binary and non-binary is trans. So it's like, yes, they are trans. I mean, I've seen some people say that not all non-binary people consider themselves trans or call themselves trans, but I still feel like it kind of goes under like the umbrella of trans because trans, I know like a lot of people think of like trans man or trans woman when they think of transgender or whatever, but trans as a whatever as a whole just means that someone doesn't identify as the gender or sex that they were assigned at birth. So, someone like me, I was assigned female at birth, but I'm not supposed to be a female. I'm supposed to be a man. So, I'm a trans man. And yeah, so, I don't identify with my birth gender. So that means I'm trans. And then non-binary people don't identify with their birth gender, so they are therefore trans. But I guess some non-binary people are kind of just like, yeah, whatever. I'll just call myself non-binary then, which works. I guess you do you. I guess I guess it depends on if they identify with the trans word. I guess I don't know. Whatever. I guess any non-binary people in the comments, or anyone who's watching this that's non-binary, you could probably say in the comments if you whatever with the trans word, or like if you do call yourself trans or if you don't, and you can kind of like I guess say why in the comments and stuff. But yeah, and then like other genders that aren't non-binary, like gender queer, agender, gender fluid, like a bunch of other stuff. Um, those are also under the trans umbrella. Um, so yeah, so like trans man and trans woman are like the binary versions for trans, or a binary section of the trans umbrella, and then the non-binary section of the trans umbrella would be a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, like there's the binary stuff of like, oh, man and woman or whatever, but then there's the other ones that are like, yeah, I'm not exactly that, or I'm a mix of that, or you know, kind of sometimes outside of that, but also sometimes inside of that, and still then it's kind of like a mix of whatever, that kind of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to make a little video kind of talking about this and you know, kind of give a little like picture of an umbrella and then a bunch of different genders under there. Obviously, there's more genders than what I put under there, but I didn't have enough room to put everything, so I was just like, I'll just put a bunch of the ones that are like more well known or, that sort of thing. And yeah, so I just, I kind of wanted to make a little video just to kind of, I don't know, educate people more because I've seen so many people be like, oh, non binary isn't trans, they're not, whatever. But it's like, I mean, technically it is, even though, I mean, not all non binary people call themselves trans, but, it still kind of technically is because they're not cis. So, they're not, they're, you know, I mean, maybe some non binary people could be like considered cisgender because maybe someone was assigned non-binary at birth or something, but that probably doesn't really happen. If it has happened, then it's probably like only a few here and there. But I kind of doubt that people assign someone non-binary at birth. So you know that's probably not really a thing. So non-binary people can't really be cis, so they kind of have to be trans then, I guess. So you know, or like other genders, I guess, if you assigned someone agender or gender fluid at birth, then they could be considered cis if they still identify with that. But like, that's, I doubt anyone's been assigned any other gender at birth. So, you know, technically we're all trans then because none of us have been assigned. I'm sure most people, if not all people, have not been assigned any other gender at birth. I'm pretty sure all of us have been assigned male or female. Or, I mean, I guess there's intersex, so I guess, that could be another whole thing that could be talked about. But usually, I think with intersex people, they either don't know that they're intersex because, like, the people, like, that were there when that person was birthed, like, they probably couldn't tell or they kind of just guessed or whatever. And yeah, that kind of happens with a lot with intersex people from what I've heard of, is that they either never know until they're like a lot older, or they like, you know, it was just confusing, I guess, and then they just got assigned whatever because the doctor was like, yeah, this is what it looks like the most to me, so here you go. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not intersex that I've learned ever, so I'm not intersex that I know of, so I can't really speak on that. The people that know that they are intersex would have to kind of talk about that. I guess if you're intersex and you're like, I guess if you know you're intersex, then maybe you could talk about your thing in the comments, your whole whatever in the comments, your experience or whatever, and kind of, I guess, talk about that more. But I'm not intersex that I know of, so I don't really have any whatever to talk about that. I just kind of go off of what I heard or know or whatever, so yeah. But anyways, that's kind of, I guess, it for this video. I don't think there's really anything else that I have to talk about. I just kind of want to make a short little video about this, and yeah, so I guess bye then.